Good morning, primary class. This is your lesson for Thursday in our story, Trouble in Jerusalem. More than 40 men were planning to kill Paul, but someone found out their plan. Who was he and what did he do? Acts 23, verse 16 tells us, "And when Paul's sister's son heard of their lying in wait, he went and entered into the castle and told Paul." Soon Paul's nephew was talking to the commander of the Roman soldiers. No one else heard as he told the commander about the plan to kill Paul. Verse 17 through 21 say, "Then Paul called one of the centurions unto him and said, Bring this young man unto the chief captain, for he hath certain thing to tell him. So he took him and brought him to the chief captain and said, Paul the prisoner called me unto him, and prayed me to bring this young man unto thee, who hath something to say to you. Then the chief captain took him by the hand and went with him aside privately and asked him, What is it that thou hast to tell me? And he said, The Jews have agreed to desire thee that thou wouldest bring down Paul tomorrow into the council, as though they would inquire somewhat of him more perfectly. But do not thou yield unto them, for they lie in wait for him, of them more than 40 men, which have bound themselves with an oath that they will neither eat nor drink till they have killed him, and now they are ready, looking for the promise from thee. Don't let anyone know that you told me, said the commander to Paul's brave young nephew in verse 22. So the chief captain then let the young man depart and charged him, See that thou tell no man that thou hast showed these things to me. Paul was a Roman citizen, and the commander knew that he must be sure that nothing bad happened to him. Now he knew that it wasn't safe to keep Paul in Jerusalem, so he decided to send him to Felix, the Roman governor. But Felix was in Caesarea, and that was about 60 miles from Jerusalem. What orders did the commander give? Verse 23 and 24. I have little Bob again. He's down here. He likes the Sabbath school lesson. And he called unto him 2 centurions, saying, Make ready 200 soldiers to go to Caesarea, and horsemen 60, and spearmen 200, at the 3rd hour of the night, and provide them beasts, that they may set Paul on and bring him safe unto Felix the governor. All right. The commander also wrote a letter about Paul. He gave the letter to the officer in charge and told him to give it to Felix. You might like to read that letter in verses 25 through 30. Oh, let's read that letter. Shall we, Bob? And he wrote a letter after this manner. Claudius Lysias, unto the most excellent governor Felix sendeth greetings. This man was taken of the Jews, and should have been killed of them. Then came I with an army, and rescued him, having understood that he was a Roman. And when I have known the cause wherefore they accused him, I brought him forth into the council, whom I perceived to have accused questions of their law, but have nothing laid to his charge worthy of death or of bonds. And when it was told to me how that the Jews laid wait for this man, I sent straightway to thee, and gave commandment to his accusers also to say before thee what they had against him. Farewell. At 9 o'clock that night, 400 soldiers and 70 men on horsemen marched out of Jerusalem. The clip-clop of the horses' hooves on the stone pavement must have been noisy, but most likely no one paid much attention to. And none of Paul's enemies knew that he was with them, riding safely away on a horse. 200 regular soldiers and 200 other soldiers with spears as well, and 70 soldiers on horses with all around Paul protecting him. Now think about this. What surprise was waiting for those men who had vowed not to eat or drink until they had killed Paul? I think they'd get pretty hungry and thirsty, don't you? Now, can you tell how Jesus had cared for Paul that day? That's a pretty wonderful story. We'll find out the ending to it tomorrow.